just remember, Media Accountability Project. That's going to be an important thing to keep in mind. Hold the media to account for their misinformation and fake news.
See, is that... He makes it sound like that's a bad thing. Don't you want to hold the media account? I kind of do.
Right.
I feel like spreading lies is bad.
I don't think Sam Cedar has ever acknowledged or admitted that the mainstream narrative and his narrative on Kyle was just completely factually wrong.
Yes. Well, does he think, does he not? I mean, he's kind of implying that, well, I guess maybe he just thinks, I guess the implication for the audience is that the right wingers are the ones that are lying. So it's hypocrisy for them to say that.
Well, it's very annoying when I talk to people about this because they're like, oh, in one conversation, they'll be like, oh, Fox News and, right-wing media, they're fucking liars. And, Twitter needs to kick them off, the platform, and they need to censor and, blah, 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 blah. And then when it's like, oh, Kyle Rittenhouse is going after the people that lied about him, they're like, oh, well, this is going to have a chilling effect on free speech. It's just like, you're like, what the fuck? Come on. What are you talking about?
So one-sided. They can't even see it. They're totally in the bubble.
They can't even see it.
Is his lawyer. They join us now to explain what they're doing. Thanks to you both for coming on. Tell us, Kyle, good to see you. What action are you taking against the tech companies that made this defamation possible?
Well, we're going to make the media pay for what they did to me. They made it hard for me to live a normal life. I can't go out into public. I can't go to the store. It's hard for me to go anywhere without security. Shoot, doing basic things like taking my dog to the dog park is difficult. So
pause it for 1 second. So for those of you at home who do not speak right wing,
isn't it so great that we have a right-wing interpreter on the show for us today? Someone who knows exactly what right-wingers think and behave.
Yes. Sam Cedar, well-known right-wing understander.
Yeah. Let's hear the translation.
Let me translate. My killing 2 people with a gun at a protest where I was a self-appointed protector of some, like
a car wash
or some other stores.
Okay, there's 2 incorrect statements of fact in there that could
you're right.
They could be sued for. Okay. Self-appointed? No, he was hired as a security guard. If you would have watched the fucking trial, you would know that.
Yep.
And it was an auto lot. It wasn't a fucking car wash, okay? They had a bunch of auto inventory that had been burned out at their previous location. And they were trying to save the last location where they had, sellable cars.
Yes.
So, yeah.
The previous night, they had already lost, I believe, hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory.
Right. He was not self-appointed. The guy who owned the place reached out to an ex-employee that worked there. The ex-employee reached out to Kyle Rittenhouse and said, hey, do you guys want to help us with this? He thought he was going to get paid.
That's right. Someone in the chat said, it's still difficult to get cars today. And you know why that is? It's all because they burned down that one lot.
Really?
That's what set back all of the supply chain for cars, was this one incident.
The inflation.
Kyle Rittenhouse could have saved us from inflation if only he was there the previous night.
Yeah, exactly. It's so ironic because later in the video, I believe he says something about security guards when that's what Kyle Rittenhouse was hired to do, be a security guard.
Has caused me to be infamous in certain circles around the country.
First of all, I hate the Sam Cedar eyebrows up. I'm just utterly disbelief at everything. Look, okay?
Right? Yeah. He's so condescending.
I know. It's so smug and condescending. But this is bullshit too, because the point isn't, he keeps saying, Kyle Rittenhouse killed 2 people with a gun. He killed 2 people with a gun. That's why he's infamous, Adam. It's like, no, okay. If you had a situation where, let's say an individual who was black killed 2 white supremacists who were attempting to lynch him, with a gun. Okay. Would that
Oh.
guy be infamous or famous?
Famous.
Right. Exactly.
Yes. They'd
Right.
make a movie. It would be Django Unchained Part 2.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Sam Cedar would be like talking about this while he'd have one hand on the mic, another hand like wrapped around himself, and he'd be vigorously like, "Oh my God, he's just shot those two white supremacists. He saw the life drain from his eyes. Ah!" Like he'd be just so happy about this. So it has nothing to do with the fact that he killed people. It has to do with like whether you think he was justified in killing those people, Sam. Like this is such a basic understanding of the issue.
Yeah, totally. Yes.
And if you had followed the trial, then you would say that the first person first of all, he was acting completely in self-defense. The first person 100% justified in killing and was a terrible, terrible person. And the second person 100% justified in killing, too, even if it was just some idiot who thought he was going to play hero.
Yes. Yeah. No, he's completely wrong. Well,
Yeah.
also the fact that, I mean, we all watched the trial. The trial was completely unfair. I mean, that's why.
What do you mean?
Well, it's going to attract attention when someone's wrongly accused.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the problem isn't even the trial. The problem is that from day one, the mainstream narrative decided that Kyle was guilty.
Right.
And
yes.
even during the trial, not everyone, but almost every mainstream media outlet, because we did the whole like mainstream media coverage of the trial, they all were twisting and warping everything to be like Kyle is evil and guilty, and look at the judge. The judge is doing everything he can to make Kyle win. The judge is biased. I mean, Sam Cedar, they even have multiple videos about this where they complain about the judge, where they say, "Oh, remember the judge, his cell phone ring went off, and his cell phone ring was proud to be an American."
I know.
And it wasn't just that; it was the exact version that Trump used in
At his rally.
His rallies. So that must mean that he's a Trump supporter,
Yeah.
and that must mean that he's, biased towards Kyle Rittenhouse.
If the media had not lied, though, would Kyle Rittenhouse even be charged? I'm not sure that he would be.
No, you're right. You're right. If there wasn't fake news surrounding the original incident, he wouldn't have been charged, because they would have just looked at the video and been like, self-defense.
Yeah, exactly. They would have watched the video. I somewhat believe. Well, no, I totally believe. I don't know if this is actually true though. That the prosecutor brought charges because he wanted his 15 minutes of fame. He wanted to he knew this would be like a national case and he could up his profile. I think that was a big part of the motivation for charging this kid, which is sick beyond belief. It's completely, it's corruption on display, which is another reason why everyone was so interested in the case and is still interested in the case to this day. There's no reason, Kyle Rittenhouse, people gambled with Kyle Rittenhouse's life for no good reason. They did.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Sam Cedar does look perfectly like the emoji.
The smug emoji?
No, not the smug. The one with the eyebrows like up. Meadow Rules put it in the chat.
This means Sam Cedar is better than you. This is exactly what this facial.
This is I'm better than you.
It's just it's like this guy is such a dipshit. He doesn't even know anything that he's talking about. And that's why this facial expression is more funny than anything. People who talk a big game and they really don't know what the hell they're talking about. I mean, this is what the internet was made for.
You mean Vosh?
Vosh
People
is,
like Vosh.
This is Vosh is. We might have to go back to that debate he did because it is pretty insane. So we can't do back-to-back Vosh.
I know.
Everyone's like,
it's the problem. It's like every week he comes out with something insane, and you're just like, fuck.
Why can't we just label him a lolcow and do him like every single week? I mean, you milk the lolcow.
We'll have to have a new stream, just our weekly.
When the cow has milk, you You milked that cow. What the fuck? Nobody goes, oh, you're obsessed with the cow milk. Yes,
Right.
I bought the fucking cow for the milk.
Right.
Of course I'm obsessed with the milk. Jeez. You know how much it costs to feed a dairy cow?
And someone else brought up too, I forgot, they were complaining that the judge had an American flag tissue box. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
I think Eli Mistel was complaining about that. It was like, really? Having an American flag tissue? A judge who obviously has a lot of respect for the American legal system. That's the American flag tissue box. And this is supposed to be indicative of something bad.
Yeah.
And then, I want to say that I don't think with the prosecutor, I'm sure he did look at the case as his 15 minutes, which obviously backfired and blew up on his face. I don't think that was the intention for the charges, though. I think the intention for the charges was once the media blew it up, he probably, got a call from the governor. Like, you got to try this case. You got to nail this kid. Because wasn't the governor very anti-Kyle Rittenhouse, too?
Maybe.
I kind of vaguely remember something.
The call was probably more like, oh, this will be good for all of us. You're going to have to prosecute this case.
Remember, it was like, also, I forgot, remember Binger was related, wasn't Binger and the police chief and the mayor of the town, like, they were all related, remember? Like, the police chief was like the mayor's relative, and then Binger was like the brother-in-law of the police chief or something. And they kind of wanted to use Kyle Rittenhouse as the scapegoat to deflect from the fact that the police's response to the riots were so dog crap.
Right. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. They wanted to scapegoat Kyle Rittenhouse for their own incompetence.
This is all lost on Sam Cedar, obviously.